Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Verkada session. I'm your host, Dimi. I lead the solutions engineering team for Verkada's Europe operations out of our London office. And it's going to be my pleasure today to take a few minutes and show you around our product and what we do to improve the state of the physical security market. Now, some of you might not have heard about Verkada, and that's normal. We are one of the youngest physical security companies in the world. However, although we've just existed for over 5-6 years, we have grown to support almost 10,000 customers worldwide. We have 7 offices, mainly in the United States, but also here in London and Sydney. And we have more than 900 employees that are working to support customers with anything they need. One of the reasons for our fast growth is that we bring something totally new and different to the market. We don't really aim to be a camera company or an access control company or actually get pinned down on a particular product. What we want to do is that we want to be the essential physical security layer of any modern building. And part of that is bringing simplicity, ease of use, automation, and also scalability. That if you think about this, you can benefit as a consumer. There are loads of consumer-grade products out there that you can protect your home. You can do surveillance, you can do access control. However, when it comes to the actual enterprise, those systems are not scalable enough or have the right features. So this is where we come in. We say we will offer things such as cameras, access controllers, IoT sensors, alarms, and even guest management. And we all going to offer it under the same umbrella. So any sort of products you purchase from us are driven by a platform that we call Command, which you are able to access no matter where you are. As long as you have internet access and a modern browser, you are able to interact with the platform, even if you're in transit, if you're working from home, or if you are on site, without relying on things such as VPNs or remote desktops. Now, looking at the traditional physical security, especially when it comes to CCTV, this is a very simplified way of seeing a traditional architecture. Right? So you have your cameras deployed, they talk to an MDR or a VMS system, and then obviously it's up to you to scope out the right storage regarding what you want to save and how long for. And then also think about a way to interact with the system when you're no longer there. Because as with any on-premise system, it works relatively straightforward if you're there and then watching the screen connected to the MVR. However, if you were to go away, things are not as simple, requiring you to invest and maintain multiple different technology stacks. So looking at this picture, there are quite a few things that you can imagine that makes everybody's life much more complicated. From the fact that the MVR does support the maximum number of cameras, to the fact that if you're now upgrading those cameras to a higher resolution, you now have to think about the storage because you're going to be running out. And once you cater for that storage, now you have to think about, disaster recovery. What happens if something happens to the site, to the MVR, to the storage system, to actually have a backup to understand what happened. On top of that, there are multiple security risks. Looking at the reports on the market, the MVRs tend to be one of the first places that a hacker would get in, and mainly because they tend to be obsolete and not upgraded frequently. I remember a customer of mine telling me that he takes his whole IT team on a road tour to all the facilities for 3 days a year just to upgrade the MVRs with the USB stick. So it's not surprising that a lot of customers actually cannot afford the time or expense to keep on top of all those upgrades. Secondly, if we look at the remote access, because those systems are not made with that feature in mind, you're now looking into things such as purchasing add-ons, looking at your firewall and doing things such as port forwarding, which jeopardizes your security. And obviously from things such as simple things such as, again, like user management, right? Integrating with your Active Directory, with your Auditor Okta, Sometimes these things are either not available or almost impossible to do, leaving certain people to work with the system, even using default credentials, which, as you can imagine, is a massive security risk. So looking at all those things, looking at all these pain points, we came up with a solution that would address all of them, making the system not only more secure in a way that it actually allows you to benefit from things such as single sign-on, Active Directory integration, two-factor authentication, just at the click of a button, but at the same time, more scalable and simple to use. So those two things would be mutually exclusive using a traditional architecture. So the way that we've done this is using what's called a hybrid cloud approach. So what this means is that the cameras in themselves will be able to record and analyze the data. So that happens on the camera itself. And they will then communicate with a very small management tunnel back to the cloud. And what you do is that when you open up your command platform, which is the management platform, what you're doing is that you're leveraging the cloud to interact with all your devices, no matter how many sites you have or whereabouts in the world they are. So just by default, eliminating the NVR and the use of external storage systems means that the system is extremely scalable. You can have one site with one camera, or you can have 100 sites with 10 cameras each. The system will work exactly the same. Secondly, the fact that you're using a cloud platform means that now you can monitor things from anywhere. And especially important now in the last few years is that you can grant the right access to the right individuals, and they can do their work no matter where they are. If they choose to work from home today, maybe they are on an offsite, or if they are on premise, right? Everything will actually work the same without the use of VPNs, bespoke applications, or add-ons that will require you to do any sort of port forwarding on your firewalls. So in order for me to demonstrate the power of the solution, the best thing that I can do is actually show you a live network. And I'm going to show you our own corporate infrastructure that keeps the Verkada offices around the world secure. Now, I already logged in previously, so I'm not going to bore you with two-factor authentication and single sign-on, but do have in mind that with Verkada, by default, you can improve your security by building those layers that will guarantee that an attacker will not be able to exploit the platform. Now, as opposed to a traditional CCTV system, Verkada cameras are only made to talk to the Verkada cloud. So even if somebody would go all the way to get on a ladder and take your camera down and take it back home and plug it in, the worst thing that they can do is actually expose their own face and their home to you, because once the cameras get plugged in and they get power, they automatically communicate back to the cloud and specifically to your instance. Now, from this view, I can go through and select between multiple sites. So the idea here is that if you have a big campus or if you have a distributed environment, as you scale the platform, things will still remain clean and easily accessible. So if somebody were to ask me, hey, please, can you show me what's happening in the garage because we have a live situation there, you can just simply scroll down, click on the garage, and now we're actually seeing inside the garage in our headquarters in San Mateo. So do appreciate that I'm sitting here in London and I'm interacting with the system on the other side of the world. The idea of sites is not just to keep everything clean, but also for you to securely give access to the platform. So as opposed to using default usernames and passwords, what you'll do is that as you scale your platform, you're able to add multiple users and give them the right credentials. So for example, if you have a certain user that only needs to take care of a particular site, maybe just monitor it, you will have the peace of mind that not only they only see what you want them to see, but they won't be able to do things such as, for example, delete cameras, reorient them, delete floor plans, right? So this sort of like role-based access can manually be done here, or it can be achieved by automatically integrating with your Azure Active Directory or with a platform such as Okta. On the same part of the screen, you also see multiple tabs as well. So this points out the fact that yes, we started with cameras. It's a flagship product, but we invested a lot of time and resources in going across multiple areas in physical security and building management, such as access control, IoT sensors, alarms, and guest management. And the advantage here is simple. As opposed to having different systems, let's say you are looking at understanding who's leaving the door open, who keeps jamming the door and leaving it open so anybody can come in and out of the street, as opposed to correlating multiple systems together or trying to integrate them, you can easily just go in the same platform using the same tools and say, hey, somebody keeps leaving our exterior door open. Can you find out? Okay, I can go inside the events and I can easily look at things such as a door held open. So it speaks a lot about having everything under the same umbrella and giving you that powerful context into what's happening. Same with environmental sensors. You might deploy a sensor in your IDF closet to make sure that all your important network infrastructure is safe from any sort of malfunctions, or potentially you have issues with vaping and smoking, and you want to stop people doing that and find out the actual culprits. Just by tagging in a camera at the click of a button, you now have the right context for it. So not only you'll be able to set alerts and the appropriate people that should receive them, but now when they do so, they're able to quickly log in and assess, is this a false positive or is this something that I will need to get somebody involved to fix it? Now, going back to the cameras, again, the beauty of the system is that I can have as many as I want, right? There's no MVRs, there's no VMSs, there's no storage, right? Everything is done by Verkada and presented as a simple, intuitive interface. So now if you want to work with the system and you want to quickly get to the bottom of who smashed the window last night, yes, you can go back inside the history of the camera, which is, again, something that probably a lot of people are accustomed to. Or you can easily say, hey, show me when you have seen motion in that particular area, and I'm only interested when I see people. So this is very powerful because this queries the actual drive on the camera, the storage on the camera, and uses the artificial intelligence to say, hey, this is exactly what I've seen people. So I'm disregarding events such as, the lights coming on and off, maybe animals going around. By clicking on one of these events, now I'm being shown the history of the camera. And what I can do at this point is I can actually overlay multiple cameras. So in case I'm, possibly like following a person around to see where they have been, or maybe viewing the same incident from multiple angles, I can actually have that synchronous view across multiple cameras. Now, if I want to save this clip for future use and share it, I can actually do so extremely easily. If the cameras record on themselves, it's just normal to think that after a while, they will start recording over all periods of footage. So let's say I take a 30-day camera, because we sell cameras in increments of days, 30, 60, 90, all the way to 365 days, that, day 31st of the 30-day camera gets overwritten with day number 1. But you might be put in a situation in which maybe the police will actually ask you for the footage a few months later. So this is where the archive comes in, because you're able to take clips from any of your cameras and hold them for future use as long as you want. So now by me going into archives, I'm actually showing you all the clips that people have saved on the Verkada platform. And again, you can create as many archives as you want, and they will be there until you deem them unnecessary to delete them. So the beauty of this is that what we actually have achieved here is that we have saved a particular clip, we have transferred it securely, and now are holding it inside the cloud, which, by the way, is built on top of AWS. So we're actually using their redundancy and security to hold your footage safe. And from this, you'll also be able to rewatch certain clips, right? So that's more to refresh your memory, but also share it. Click that download button, and what you get is an MP4 file, which is timestamped, thus fully legible in a court of law. But if you actually want to make your life easier and you don't want to walk around with USB sticks and ship them and kind of send them to somebody else, you can quickly just get their phone number, get an email, type them here, and just say, okay, you'll have access for 1 day to review this. At the end of that day, I am confident that you'll no longer see that and you won't be able to share it further. So what I've done here is that in the matter of minutes, I have found the right incident, I have saved it for future use, and I have shared it to the relevant people. I didn't have to log in, use client VPNs, remote desktops. I didn't have to send somebody to site with a USB drive, and I didn't have to take that USB drive and manually ship it to somebody else. I have actually done that much, much faster, and as you can imagine, much, much more efficient. Other interesting functionalities that make your life easier would be the ability to actually filter based on people and their characteristics. So if you actually know that you're looking for somebody who's possibly like dressed in red, maybe appears to be male, you can create your queries here, and the command platform will actually give you the right amount of information. You can even go all the way to select a certain face and understand if that person has visited your site before or not. So this can be used in a myriad of ways. You might have somebody who's actually reported that has caused an incident, or potentially stalking the site to try to understand, maybe you have some certain vulnerabilities that they can exploit, right? You can now know exactly where they have been lost and whereabouts in your entire estate they have been. It might be a VIP user, which you want somebody at reception to be aware that they're coming. So you can use that facial analysis, or even things such as number plate readings to say, hey, when you see that number plate again, make sure that the right person gets the alarm, just by basically taking this license plate of interest. And the beauty of all these features is that they come as part of the same offering without the need of you paying additional licenses or bringing servers or such, right? They're there for you to use them if you want them, just as a click of a button. I think another important feature that I really liked, and the way that it's obviously presented, is backing up the footage, right? We talked about archives as a manual operation that you do in case you've seen an incident and you want to save it. However, what happens if you have a camera in an important space and you want to make sure that you are still able to access the data, even if the camera is down and no longer operational? So this sort of backup, right, with the traditional system would require you to go purchase storage somewhere else, maybe in the cloud or maybe in a different data center, make sure that the on-prem storage communicates with that and replicate the data, right? So that's something that you have to invest, install, and also maintain. For us, we take the same concept, but we express it easily just by a button that you turn on. You turn on the backup button on the cameras that you want to make sure that are backed up. You tell us when and what footage you want to back up, which is extremely important for sites that have no bandwidth. Thus, that might be a concern. And if the camera goes offline for any sort of reason, you have the peace of mind that you can go in the same platform, you can click the camera, and you can review the historical footage, because now you're actually looking at the footage that's held into the cloud. And this is a very nice wraparound because it kind of shows the power of the platform and what we're trying to achieve in actually having all those enterprise features, but representing them in the easiest way possible. And if through your Verkada journey, you are stuck and you want help, help is a click of a button away. You just press help, get help. And one of our trained engineers, which just work besides me here, will be able to hop in the platform when you grant them access, troubleshoot, and worst case scenario, replace the device. All our devices come with a 10-year warranty, which means that you will be able to calculate exactly the cost of the entire system all through the life cycle. With that in mind, I want to thank you very much for your time, and please get in touch with us in case any of this is of interest.